I did say I was expecting a much deeper correction. And then I said that there is one thing that could change my mind about this correction, and that is that if Powell came out overly dovish, I would change my mind and I would flip bullish. Powell was ridiculously dovish last night. We got a green candle in Bitcoin and now we're at 67,315. Big question, have I changed my thesis? Was I wrong about this big correction? Am I ready to actually start buying? And if I am ready to start buying, what is it that I'm actually buying? Because if I look at the bubbles today, it tells me that potentially there's no more correction. It tells me that everything is green. Question, is it time to start buying? Is the correction over? Is it time to deploy your cash? That's what we're going to be discussing today. And I'm going to show you one place where I was definitely right, not wrong. So let's go, guys. Big day today. If your name is 𝗥𝗑𝗢𝗓, he is one of our viewers. He won the banter bags. I think we're 3 or 4 people down in the banter bags. Can you believe it? We gave the guy the banter bags, and I reckon that's gonna be worth like millions of dollars, or at least $1 million. So listen, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe, because that's the only way you can win the banter bags. You got to subscribe to Banter, subscribe to Banter Plus. Today we got a massive show for you. We're gonna see whether indeed I was wrong. I made the thumbnail, I was right, and then the designers crossed it out and said, no, you were wrong. So we're gonna decide today whether I was right or whether I was wrong. On the one hand, I was calling for a much deeper correction. On the other hand, I did say, well, if Powell comes out and is dovish, then I'm going to change my thesis. Regardless about whether I was right or wrong about the correction, there is one place, and specifically around the altcoins, that you should be buying, where I was 100% right. And I think that if your thesis is to start actually buying this pullback, this Bitcoin bounce, then you should be looking at the altcoins that we're going to be talking about in the show today. So massive show today. Smash the like button, destroy the like button. Yesterday we got something like 3,500 likes on the live. Let's see if we can beat that today. Let's get into it. Let's go straight into it. As I said yesterday on the show, I said, look, there is one thing that can actually change my mind here. Listen carefully. And I also know that markets can change in 1 second overnight, for the good and for the bad. Right now, my thesis is that the market is heated and needs a correction. But things could change. Something could happen tonight, as soon as tonight. Something could happen. And that one thing that could happen could send the market up, and it could completely invalidate this entire thesis that this correction is going to continue. Now, what could that one thing be that would happen tonight that may actually get me to invalidate my entire thesis? FOMC. There's the FOMC meeting tonight. Maybe Jerome Powell comes out and he becomes extremely dovish and he says, you know what, we've been wrong all this time. We need to start thinking about decreasing interest rates. Full bull comes back, runs thesis invalidated. I cancel my assumption that there's actually going to be a dip, and I start buying like a mofo. And for that reason, and so that's what I said yesterday. I said, if he came out and he was extremely dovish, then I would change my thesis and I would start buying like a mofo, because you got to be fluid when the market starts moving. If the inputs in the market change, then you got to be fluid in the market when the market starts moving. Then Powell actually did came out and he was dovish. And this is what he said about interest rates.
In our SCP, FOMC participants wrote down their individual assessments of an appropriate path for the federal funds rate, based on what each participant judges to be the most likely scenario going forward. If the economy evolves as projected, the median participant projects that the appropriate level of the federal funds rate will be 4.6% at the end of this year, 3.9% at the end of 2025, and 3.1%.
So effectively what he said is, he said that the median participant in the FOMC, the guys that vote in the FOMC, he said that they all voted that there were going to be an average of 3 interest rate cuts this year. Now, that doesn't really change much from last time, but as you can see from last time, more of them are saying that there's going to be 3 or more interest rate cuts this year. So, but hold on a second. There are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more meetings. So if they want to cut 3 times in the next 6 meetings, they better get started on deciding when they're going to cut. Now, what the market's telling you is that in the next meeting, they're not going to cut. This is the May meeting, and the market's telling you, let me just zoom out so you guys can see this properly, they're saying in the May meeting, there's not going to be a cut. Then when you look at June, there is a 62.8% cut, that the first cut comes in June. The first Fed rate cut comes in June, no rate cut in July, a rate cut in September, no rate cut in October, no rate cut in November, and no rate cut in December. So we are talking about possibly getting 3 rate cuts this year. And that is extremely dovish. It's extremely bullish. It shows that the Fed is very, very much trying to, or talking about reducing rates and loosening monetary policy. As they said that, you can see that the Dixie had this huge red candle. Now, it has clawed back some of the what it gave back, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. So the Dixie did that. Bitcoin jumped to, well, as you can see, it went to a high of about 68,255. It's now back at 67,593. But most importantly, dominance had a red candle, and the altcoins absolutely started to explode. And specifically, the altcoins that we spoke about. These guys started to explode. So now the big question. Okay, you had the rate cuts, you had the dovish pile, but we were in the middle of a correction. So what happens now? Do I invalidate the thesis and say, well, is this correction over? Or do I say, it's not over, this is a bounce after pile, and we're going to carry on moving down? So what I did was I asked everyone on Twitter, and I said, guys, is this dip over? It's pretty much 49% say it's up only, and 50% say, or 50.1% say, or 51% say we're going back to 60K or under 60K. So the market's undecided as to whether or not this correction's over. Am I ready to invalidate my thesis around the correction? Am I ready to start buying? Am I ready to start deploying? Because I said to you yesterday that I wasn't crazy about deploying. Well, for me, let's look at the data. Let's look at what the data is telling you around deploying. So the first thing that the data is showing us is that the price of Bitcoin is back at 67,400. That's an amazing reversal. And if you think about the fact that just yesterday we were at $60,000, this is one of the biggest daily green candles that we've had, I think, since, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like February 2021 or somewhere along the line. We had a huge green candle. You see this daily green candle that you can see over here? That's the biggest green candle that we've had in a long time, like over a year or something like that, even over 2 years. The other thing is, if you look at the RSIs, the relative strength indicator, the RSIs, the sentiment indicator, the momentum indicator, you can see that the RSI is reversed and the RSI is starting to move up. The next thing that I'm looking at is I'm looking at the Coinbase premium. And this Coinbase premium is starting to show me that people in the United States are starting to pay a premium on Bitcoin. Now, what we know about the Coinbase premium is that every time it goes green, it means that there is more of a demand for Bitcoin than there is of a supply. And therefore, people in the US are willing to pay more. And that usually drives up the price. And the Coinbase premium is green. The next bit of amazing good news is that we're using the previous cycle high as support. So from a charting perspective, when support becomes resistance and resistance becomes support, so this was a resistance and now it's becoming a support, that is a very, very, very bullish sign. So far, so good. Everything's telling me that maybe you should just invalidate your thesis that there is a correction. Next, funding set back to baseline levels. We are back at baseline levels on funding. Have a look at the funding heat map. We've been talking about this funding heat map for a while. It is completely green. The funding is completely reset. Funding rates on Bitcoin 16%, which is great. ETH 16.45. Still a bit high on Sol, almost 30%. But generally, as I move down here, you can see that the funding, you could say that funding is now normalized. Funding is now reset. There's no excessiveness when it comes to funding. So 𝗟𝗡𝗏 says the following. 𝗟𝗡𝗏 is an on-chain analyst. He analyzes the on-chain data. And he says, look, there's good news and bad news for Bitcoin from a fundamental model. The bad news is that the SOPR has peaked at a very high level. This means that there is now profit taking in progress, which suggests that this consolidation will actually take time. But on the other hand, you can't just expect the all-time high to be broken like a knife through butter and then just go straight up the top. As his mom always says, he says, breaking the all-time highs was never meant to be so easy. The one thing that does still worry me is the fact that I don't think we actually had a correction. I think that the price went down. I think the price went down to a point where nobody got scared. Nobody even cared that the price actually went down. We're still at extreme greed, believe it or not. And as I said to you yesterday, for me, corrections are designed to scare people into changing their behavior. And every time they do, the fear and greed index has a correction. And so, as I said to you yesterday, you can see that in all previous corrections, the fear and greed index went from 84 to 85 down to the 40. So it dropped by 40 points. The fear and greed index didn't even drop this correction. So the question now is, the question that you need to ask yourself is, did Jerome Powell just completely cancel the correction? Because they say never bet against the Fed. The Fed never lie. They always tell the truth. They might do the wrong things. They might not. They might do the wrong things. They might be late to act. But the one thing that the Fed does and does well all the time is they always tell the truth. And that's why you get the saying, never bet against the Fed. Because every time you say you bet against the Fed, you lose. When the Fed told you they were tightening, Bitcoin went down and the Nasdaq went down. And when the Fed say that they're loosening, then Bitcoin is starting to go up. So never bet against the Fed. Now the question is, did what Jerome Powell did actually invalidate the thesis for a correction? Is it only up from here? Is this it? That's it. Are we now going to go into a massive bull run? Altcoins are going to melt your face. Bitcoin's going to break all-time high. We're going to go through that $70,000 level, or is there more pain ahead? That is, I guess, the big question. And am I willing to invalidate my thesis that there's this correction? The truth is, I'm now sitting on the fence, and I'm waiting to see Bitcoin's next move, because I know that just after Powell speaks, there may be excitement or there may be disappointment sometimes, but I want to see what happens next. And specifically, I'm looking at a couple of things. I want to look at Bitcoin's next move, number one. The next thing that I want to look at is I want to look at the ETF flows. So I'm now looking at the ETF flows, and I see that in the last 3 days of the ETFs, we've had $1 billion outflow from the ETFs, $1 billion outflow. So this is like, it shows that right now there is more demand to exit the ETFs than there is to enter the ETFs. And that's not the safest sign. So I'm looking to see what's going to happen with the ETF inflows. I want to see if people actually start getting in. I want to see what happens to stock markets. I want to see how the stock markets respond one day after Powell speaks. Now, right now, the stock markets are pretty flat. My next telltale sign is to look at the DXY. How is the DXY responding after Powell's speech? And the DXY is now starting to move slightly up towards where it was yesterday. So right now, I'm undecided. Right now, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait to see Bitcoin's next move before I decide whether I'm going full bull or whether I'm going to maintain a sense of caution and decide that we maybe do need to have this kind of correction where we actually reset the fear and greed indicators. That is pretty much what my strategy is at the moment. But I do know that today is the big day. I want to see the change in momentum, and I also know that you cannot bet against the Fed. And yesterday, what I heard from Jerome Powell is, I don't know if you heard this, but this is all I heard. I heard him basically say, buy anything. Literally, what I heard him say was, we're about to start reducing interest rates. We're about to start reducing interest rates. We're about to loosen monetary policy. We're about to slow down the asset sales of our the asset sales of our balance sheet. We're about to go full bull. And I know that you never, ever bet against the Fed. And that's why my thesis, the fact that we are in a raging bull market, isn't changing. That I said the whole time. I've always been a bull saying we're in a raging bull market. Only question is whether we're in a correction right now or not in a correction right now. But as it stands, what Jerome Powell basically said is, he says, we're about to go into a global rate cutting cycle. And someone said, it's a crash up. It's like, this is like the best case scenario. It's a crash up. So when I was sitting on the sidelines yesterday and deciding whether or not I should deploy capital, I've got to remind you of one thing, which I said yesterday. I'm 95% deployed at the moment. I deployed my money last year in September and October. I was fully deployed. So for me, with that little bit of cash that I've actually got, I need to make sure that I'm buying the best deals on the market. I can't take the little bit of cash that I got and spend it on bad things, on deals that are not amazing, right? I have to take the money that I've got and I have to use that money to bet on the best deals in the world. And that's exactly what I landed up doing yesterday. So as you know, as soon as I saw the dominance dropping, and I think I put this trade through, I wasn't live because I think Sheldon was showing his screen and you couldn't see my screen. But as I said to you yesterday, I'm very, 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 very bullish on SUI and the ecosystem. And, you know, when I'm bullish on SUI and the ecosystem, the first thing I did was I bought CETUS, which is the biggest DEX on SUI. I bought it yesterday live on the show. My entry price was 0.1105. It's now 0.4418. So that trade is now 29,950 up. We will talk about that. But as I said to you, when Jerome Powell says buy anything, when the Fed says that it's time to buy, then it's time to buy. And if you see the dominance start to drop and you compare it to this thing over here, which says, you know, and this is one of the things that I remember very clearly. It says, friendly reminder, Bitcoin dominance has been in a triangle for 7 years. From the time Bitcoin broke through its all-time high with strength, altcoin have outperformed Bitcoin in 2017 and in 2021. Now, what did we just do, or what are we trying to do convincingly? We're trying to break the all-time high. Every time we break the all-time high, then we get into Altseason. Now look at this triangle over here. When dominance hits this top part of the triangle here, that's usually when we start to break down. Now this is not a coincidence. We now have Bitcoin breaking its all-time high or tickling the all-time high. It hasn't broken through quite yet. You could say maybe just the tip. So right now it's just the tip of breaking the all-time high, but it will break the all-time high. When it does, the dominance is going to start coming down, bang, and then we are in full-blown alt season. And as Crypto Jelly says here, he says, altcoins went through a multi-year accumulation range, broke out and turned the $1 trillion level from a resistance into a support, which means that the fun is just about to begin. So you can see it's all like lining up on the charts. You've got the dominance lining up. You've got Bitcoin breaking all-time highs lining up. You've got Powell telling us that he's about to go full bull and just put more money into the economy, more liquidity into the economy. And so look, the one thing where I may have been wrong is that this correction is going to go a bit deeper. But as I said to you yesterday, the market is dynamic. And if the information changes, we got to change our thesis. So I may have been wrong about the deep correction. Time will tell. But the one place where I know for sure 100% that I was more right than anything, and the market is confirming this, is this over here. So remember I said to you that there are a whole lot of narratives that I think are going to take us into the next cycle. And you need to start placing your chips on these narratives. And I said to you, if I do start deploying, when I do think Bitcoin has bottomed, I'll show you exactly where I said it. I said when I do think Mozart, that is James, Mozart of all things that you could be doing on my computer. Hold on. So let me go. Let me show you what I said to you guys yesterday. Crypto Banter. So I said yesterday, I said the only 7 altcoins that I'm buying when Bitcoin actually bottoms. And what were those 7 altcoins that I was buying? I said to you, I'm breaking them down into narratives because I think that these are the narratives that are going to lead us into the next cycle. And I said that the narratives are TON, Base, the Move coins, which is Aptos and SUI, real world assets, decentralized social, and Phantom. And now when we look at the bubbles and we look at this reversal in altcoins, let's look at the narratives that are actually starting to run. And you'll notice that a lot of the big bubbles are the big bubbles in our narrative. So you can see Phantom over here, we spoke about. You got Sui over here, which I'm sorry, I'm hiding it with my face, but you got Sui over here, which has exploded. You got Doge exploding. You got BCH exploding. We're going to talk about that. You got Casper exploding. We're going to talk about that because I've got a big altcoin section for you guys. If you look here, you'll realize that one of the biggest movers is Ondo, because of the real world asset narrative that is about to hit us, because BlackRock has now started this real world asset tokenized fund on Ethereum. So you can see that all these narratives are actually starting to come out to play. And what I said yesterday was that I'm going to start buying these things. And that's exactly what I did. The first one that I took a bet on, and I probably should have taken a bigger bet, but I didn't have enough conviction, was Sui. So you can see we've got two positions now in Sui. The first position that we've got is CETUS Exchange. So with $30,000 up on that trade, we are 102% up in 1 day. That's where we are when it comes to CETUS Exchange. And remember, the reason why we're buying CETUS exchanges, because we just want to keep it simple. When we believe in a narrative, when you believe in a layer one, the easiest way to bet on the layer one is to bet on the meme coin and to bet on the DEX. Now, you can bet on a whole lot of other stuff. I mean, you can bet on DeFi lending and borrowing. You can bet on multiple experiments. I prefer to keep it simple. I prefer to keep it to the ones that are the safest and the most tried and tested. I prefer to keep it bottom of the risk curve, invest in the L1. Middle of the risk curve, invest in the DEX, the casino. Top of the risk curve, invest in the meme coin. So if you look at the moves today of these things, so you can see the meme coins move quite a bit. 𝗥𝗢𝗙𝗢𝗢 is the first one. And the other one is 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗙, I think it's called. Is it 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗙 or 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗙? I think it's called 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗙 or 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗙. And then CETUS, which is the biggest DEX. So to me, that's why I took this position on Sui. Here it is, with $30,000 up. I did want to take it on the BitGet account, which is locked and loaded, but BitGet don't have a perpetual on Sui, on CETUS, and I didn't want to, because I've got $100,000 in that account. I didn't want to use my stuff to start buying spot, because I want to start buying leverage, because I'm playing very responsibly with leverage. So what did I do? And I think I'm not going to advise anyone to do the same, but position in Sui and position in CETUS. Now, I mean, if I look at the metrics on CETUS, just what I like to do is I like to have a thesis and then evaluate my thesis. So the first thesis that I had was, remember I said that in a few days in Paris, in blockchain Paris Blockchain Week, there's going to be a Sui event. It's like almost like their breakpoint, almost like their DevCon. So you're going to have a Sui event. There's lots of speakers there from Binance, from A16Z. Less than 21 days. I actually might even go there. I might actually just go and visit the guys. That's. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll all go to Paris. Let me know if you're going to be in Paris. So, starting in 20 days, there is a Sui base camp. Yeah, in fact, I am going to go. I am going to go to this. Well, I need to spend $3,000 on a ticket. Nah, I'll phone them and ask them to send us all tickets. And I'll get some in for the front runners people as well. I'll try and get us some free tickets for front runners. If you're in Paris and you're in front runners, let me know on front runners so I can get you a ticket. 𝗦𝗬𝗘 says that I want in on front runners. Go to the description of this video. There is a link. Sign up on the link. On the 1st of April, we're going to let people in. So we're not letting anyone in, but on the 1st of April, we're going to let some people in. There is a link over. Where is the link for front runners? Here we go. Join front runners over here. Click on that link. Join us. You will get automatically accepted into the waiting list. And then on the 1st of April, we're going to open up that waiting list just so it's that you guys are in from the beginning of the month. So the next thing I looked at is I looked at CETUS's metrics, i.e., do they have a high TVL? And you can see the TVL is so high that it's actually higher than a lot of the other chains. But the main DEX generated $96 million of 24-hour volume, which is CETUS. And if you look at the main DEXs on all the other protocols, you can see that they didn't generate as much. I think we're getting into the SUI trade relatively early. I think. And if the market holds, I keep saying, if the market holds, because remember, I'm watching today and I want to see that we can maintain this upside momentum. Right now, it looks okay. It looks okay. Let's say that if we break 67, 68, we have to invalidate our thesis and say we're going up. If it doesn't, then we're just going to move sideways and wait for direction before we decide on our next move. So CETUS was one of the ones that I when Tony said CETUS SUI network flips Polygon network on DeFi trading volume. So stuff's happening on SUI. I think we're catching it really, really, really early. It is part of our capital rotation theme that we have. We had a capital rotation theme. We did say that the move chains were going to happen. So I'm going to keep buying and keep pressing on this CETUS narrative or on the SUI narrative. And for me, meme coin, DEX, L1, don't try and be too smart. If you are a DeFi degen, then start looking at all the DeFi narratives. I'm not like the biggest DeFi degen at the moment. I just think there's easier ways to make money. And so for me, keeping it simple, that's the way that I want to play this thesis. Next one, where I have a lot of conviction, and again, had enough conviction to take the trade. Here's the trade over here. Oh, we didn't close the slurf short. Whoa. We said we're going to close the slurf short, didn't we? We did. We've got to close that slurf short. Let's close it and bank the profits. So we already banked $6,000 of profits. Very small position that we took. Let us quickly close this position over here. Bang, confirm. Thanks for playing the game, slurf. We're out. We don't really want to play your game anymore. All right, so the next one that I looked at was Phantom. So I'm a little bit up on my Phantom trade. Wow, what's this? What's happening to our screen, Josh? Oh, we have sponsor, big time. Looks very cool. Very, very, very cool. But you said I mustn't move if anything happens, right? So I'm just going to sit here. So I mustn't move.
2, 1.
Now I can move again. Okay, great. Amazing. So Phantom, we're up on Phantom. Now, big thing that you need to look at Phantom. Phantom started to move really nicely while the FOMC was pumping. What does that mean? It means that when the market moves, Phantom is going to move. I hear a lot of people making very big mistakes on Phantom, and I need to help you guys so that you don't make the same mistakes and you don't lose your money on Phantom. I see tweets like this. This tweet from Ansem says, oh, you all found my Phantom altcoins. I think what he's implying is that people are aping. Let's have a look here. I think that what he's implying is that people are aping into the Phantom altcoin. Let's have a look here. Phantom altcoins. Let's quickly go into categories. Categories, and let's go to Phantom. Okay, I want Phantom ecosystem. So where do I find?
It's on chain, so next to categories button.
Up.
Next to categories, chains.
Okay, I want the ecosystem though.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so Phantom. Let's go to Phantom. Okay, hold on a second. Let's go back here and find the Phantom ecosystem, because a lot of people are actually making this mistake. Let's search. Surely we can search Phantom ecosystem. Phantom ecosystem. Here we go. Phantom ecosystem categories. Here we go. Okay, so a lot of people are looking at the Phantom ecosystem, and they're saying, well, a lot of these aren't even really Phantom ecosystem coins. Should we ape into the Phantom ecosystem tokens? Now, let's understand what's going on at Phantom, because a lot of people are making mistakes. A lot of people are also looking at the current Phantom transactions, accounts, and saying, wow, Phantom's doing really well. No, the reason why you're buying Phantom now is not because of the old Phantom, it's because of the new Phantom. Phantom is launching a new technology stack, which is making it effectively a side chain or a layer 2 chain to Ethereum. Now, in this new thing, in this new layer 2 side chain to Ethereum, it's going to be very, very, very fast and very, very, very cheap. And it's going to use a new tech stack, which is called Sonic. And as 𝗟𝗩𝗙 says, it says the first thing is we launch Sonic. The second thing is we get blue chip deployed, reestablish trust and anchor usage. and then work closely with existing Phantom projects, PaintSwap, to get them across. Now, I wouldn't be betting on the existing Phantom projects because you're going to get a whole lot of new projects developing on Phantom, which have new capital, new VCs, new ideas. Some of the old projects have probably run out of money. They probably have a whole lot of baggage that you don't actually want to take with you. So I would rather wait. And if you look at, I just want you to understand, Sonic is a complete rebuild of Phantom. It's new technology. It's a new tech stack. It's Phantom virtual machine. It's an ETH layer 2. It's not the old Phantom that we know about.
10,000 TPS at 1.6 finality. The point of this is the big picture. This is Visa. This is banking. This is showing that, hey, if you wanted to bring these things on chain, Sonic could handle it. So to me, that was like a very large, planting a flag. Hey, institutions, like, look at this.
Andre here makes a good point. It's publicly verifiable. You could have gone on the Phantom Sonic and tried this yourself. You could launch a dApp on it and play with it. And they had actual uptake on this. So you had some actual stress testing of this network. So when we're comparing it directly to the competitors like, say, Solana, Cardano, all these other alt chains, even like ETH L2s, I think, is the big one right now. Phantom's still on top, baby. Phantom's still on top. This is publicly verifiable.
There's no better technologist out there than Andre. He's back in Phantom. He's building an amazing new chain. On this new chain, there are a whole lot of new projects: Links Protocol, Thunderdome, Debitor Finance. There's a whole lot of new projects which are launching, and those are the ones that you want to be investing in. There's a game launching which is called what's it called? Stumble Upon Rumble. Let's just switch the music off because we don't have rights for the music, but this is one of the games that's actually launching. So for me, this is a good story, and that's why I'm going long Phantom. Now, the one thing about Phantom is that Phantom is one of the old projects which has managed to reinvent itself. And every time it reinvents itself, it's done this many times, and it's reinventing itself again because they've got one of the smartest technologists in the world, I think, which is in Andre. Now, there is another project which is similar to Phantom, which is also making all the right noises, and that's, of course, Polkadot. So I haven't been a big Polkadot fan. Why? Because I think that their old model didn't work. But they're also reinventing themselves at the moment. They're launching, so it's let's call it, for lack of a better description, Polkadot 2.0. They've abandoned this crowd loan auctions where you have to become a parachain and to become a side chain. They've abandoned that, and they've got the new model. And they're also now making all the right noises. They've got this meme coin. I think it's called Dead. I think like Polkadot is dead because they're taking the piss out of the fact that everyone thought they were dead and they're coming back to life. And I think they've actually just done an airdrop or about to do an airdrop. So let's keep our eyes on Polkadot also to see if they also make the right noises. But for now, one of the narratives that we said is going to run is Phantom. The other one is Move. Both of those are running. So both of those are running. We also said that yesterday, we said that there are two other narratives which are going to run. One would be real world assets, and the other one would be base. And if we look at the bubbles today, you can see that a lot of the big movers here, Ondo Finance up 31%. And in fact, let's actually just go to here, and you can see the moves in the real world asset narrative are huge. Huge. I mean, just look at these moves. 65% in one day. TokenFi up 48.61%. Opulus up 40.7%. Dusk up 40%. Centrifuge up 39%. Ondo up 32%. Why? Because BlackRock has launched the world's first tokenized Ethereum fund. So, of course, it's called Dead. Yeah, someone send me a snapshot. Dead snapshot is taken. Okay, so if you had DOT, the airdrop hasn't happened yet, but the snapshot has been taken. So the next narrative, which you got to keep your eyes open for, is you got to keep your eyes open for this real world asset narrative. We gave you this information a day ago. We gave you this spreadsheet a day ago. It's up 65%, 48%, 42%. Keep watching this. Don't buy green pumps. That's not how we operate. We rather buy red. We don't buy green. So real world assets also exploding. The other narrative, which I said would explode, is the base ecosystem. And I maintain that this base ecosystem is going to explode. Here are a list of the tokens that could explode if the base ecosystem continues to explode. And don't write off this base ecosystem. So you got Moonwell, which is the money market. You've got base Shiba Inu, which is like the spirit of memes. You've got Toshi, which is Brian Armstrong's cat. You've got based Brett, which is the big meme on the base chain. You got Aerodrome, which is the trading and liquidity marketplace. So again, just keep it simple. Just buy a meme and buy unless you're a DeFi degen, just buy a meme and buy a DEX, and I think you'll be fine. Also, speaking of pumps and speaking of Coinbase, so there's another big Coinbase pump that's actually happening. Here it is. You can see it here. It is Doge. You see Doge? So that's pumping. And BCH. You see there's BCH also pumping. And that is actually also because of Coinbase, right? So that's actually also because of Coinbase. Coinbase have become like the savior of this bull market. Seriously, they've become the best part of this bull market is actually Coinbase. So why are they pumping because of Coinbase? Because whilst everyone is worried about millions of other things, Coinbase filed with the CFTC to list Dogecoin, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash derivatives in the United States. And I think they got the approval, and that's why you've got Bitcoin Cash, Doge, and maybe even Litecoin running. Maybe Litecoin. Why would you even apply for a Litecoin? Litecoin. Oh, there's Litecoin, up to 4.32%. You can see it over there behind me. So that's why those narratives are actually running. So those are some of the altcoins that are running. Now, there is another altcoin that actually caught a bit of a bid yesterday. And that bid that was caught yesterday was actually Ethereum. So ETH finally had a massive red candle. Look at that. It went from 3,500 to 3,000 actually. And then it bounced from 3,000 back to 3,500. Now, this is a tricky one because what happened here was that the ETH Foundation got a subpoena from some US government regulatory agency. Now, a subpoena is not a summons. It's not an action. It's just them asking for information. And so this came from an article in Fortune, and it was confirmed on the Ethereum GitHub. It says, according to a person at the company who received the recent subpoena, the SEC's probe of the Swiss-based Ethereum Foundation began shortly after they moved from proof of work to proof of stake. Now, what the crypto bros are saying, or what crypto is thinking, is that the SEC hasn't yet really meaningfully engaged with the ETH ETF, not suppliers, but you know what I mean, the issuers of the ETH ETF. And they think that the reason why this happened is because now the SEC is mounting a full-on attack against Ethereum, and they want to deem Ethereum a security. Now, this is causing like massive. I read this, which was very funny. This is one of my favorite memes. It says, classify ETH as a security, and I'll do that thing you like with my fingers, sicko. I mean, that is funny. You could admit that's funny. But the thought of that is just revolting. Anyway, that's Elizabeth Warren, by the way. WHOREN. Speaking of Elizabeth Warren, let me just check Dex Screener and see how my Elizabeth Warren meme coins are actually doing. And then we can carry on with we will carry on with the Ethereum story, I promise. We just take a short, what do you call it? A short commercial break to check on our meme coins. And not bad. It pumped yesterday, 0.15, not bad. Anyway, so a lot of the crypto people are saying that the SEC is now launching a full-on attack against Ethereum to call it a security so that they don't have to approve the ETF, because they kind of feel like, look, we've given you the Bitcoin ETF, now lay off us. You can't expect. It's like when you give a child a sweet. Child begs you for a sweet. You're like, you don't want to give the child a sweet because it's like full of sugar, bad for their teeth, makes them like crazy. And then eventually you give them a sweet. And then they come back and say, can I have another sweet? No, you're not getting another. I just gave you a sweet. That's exactly what's happening here with the ETH ETF. Now, what we are seeing here is that crypto is like really angry with the SEC for mounting this attack. Paul Grill, who is the counsel for Coinbase, he's like, this is a disaster. How can this be happening? Anatoly Yakovenko, who is the founder of Solana, he says, if the state is against Ethereum, I'm against the state. Guys, whoa, calm down. No one even knows what the subpoena was about. No one even knows which agency subpoenaed them yet. But everyone's jumped to the conclusion that this is a full-on attack by the SEC against Ethereum. We don't know that yet, guys. Take a deep breath. Chill. Relax. A lot of people also saying, but hold on, Gary Gensler said that SEC...
Quarters of this space has already been determined by the Securities and Exchange Commission not to be a security. Bitcoin's 54%. Ether's about, 15 points or something like that. So you're all of a sudden up to about 70 points, and then there's a bunch of other things.
So he said, but everyone's saying, but wait. Gary Gensler said that ETH is not a security. Therefore, it's not a security. The truth is that when Gary Gensler was talking, he was talking about the old Ethereum, which was a proof of work Ethereum, where you didn't get a staking yield. And so it is possible that they could say that the new ETH, because you earn a staking yield, actually does fall under the jurisdiction of the SEC and is a security. Now, does the market actually really give a shit? No. Because even if it is a security, you'll pay a fine, and then what? What, are you going to unscramble the egg? Are you going to wind back? Well, you can't unscramble an egg. The egg's already been scrambled. And so what crypto Twitter has started to do is they started to notice one thing. That actually when the SEC attacks you, it's a good thing. The SEC called Solana security at $12. Now it's $172. The SEC called Cardano even. I mean, I just look at this. The SEC called Solana security. Since then, it's up 889%. The SEC called Coinbase, took a summons against Coinbase for doing shenanigans, up 445%. Even Cardano, the token that doesn't move at all whatsoever, okay? Even that went up 83% since the SEC called it a security. So people on Twitter are saying good morning, hoping all my coins get investigated by the SEC soon. That's how funny this thing has become. So no one cares about this ETH thing. In fact, Crypto Dog actually did a very good tweet. He said, yesterday I got into a relatively boring, low risk multi-week trade, took all my Ethereum spot, used it as collateral for a 5 times ETH long. No stop loss. Very smart. I mean, if ETH goes down to 20% of its price, then he will lose his collateral, which is quite scary. But otherwise, that's a good way to get a pretty simple, easy, risk-free trade. Every time that the SEC has attacked a token, that's been the bottom. And now the SEC has attacked ETH. Now the question is, sorry, not the SEC, but some government organization is attacking ETH. So now the question is, the big question, the real question is, whether or not it was the SEC that actually issued the subpoena, or whether the subpoena came from some kind of government agency for some other reason. Maybe they want to know who participated in ICO. Maybe they want to know which IP addresses have been interacting with the network. We don't know what they want. It does make me, however, it does make me wonder. It does make me think about protecting your privacy. And I keep saying to you guys, if you're in crypto, make sure you have a VPN. Make sure that you're protecting your privacy, because when these filthy, dirty government departments go to the protocols and issue a subpoena, or go to the DeFi protocols and issue a subpoena, when they do, you need to make sure that your data is not on the subpoena. That's why I keep saying to you, have a VPN. Mask your IP address. Is there a VPN link at the bottom of our show today? There will be in a second. So Josh will put a NordVPN link. Sign up for NordVPN for $3.99 a month or $2.99 a month. You can protect your IP address. I mean, James listens to one Mozart song, and my whole feed is now Mozart. One Mozart song. It's all Mozart now. All right, next one. The next way that I think you should protect your privacy, potentially, is to go and look at one of our sponsors. Their name is DOP, Data Ownership Protocol. It allows you to do private transactions on an ETH layer 2. Very, very amazing technology. This is transactions that don't even appear on an Etherscan, which is amazing. So check it out. Go and check it out. It's a dop.org, and I think you can still get an airdrop for testing their testnet. Anyway, listen, I think that's it. I'm going to go do a Twitter Spaces now. We're going to talk about meme coins. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Before, Josh, you keep jumping the gun, bro. Remember, if you want to trade if you want to trade stocks, gold, oil, like all those other things that are not only crypto, there is an exchange called kinetics.finance, which allows you to trade perpetuals. It's built on 𝗥𝗡𝗦. It's a very good, very fast thing. And it allows you to trade a whole lot of different things that aren't actually crypto related, which is very, very, very cool if you are a trader. There's a link below. Tell them we sent you. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends. Great, Josh. You got it perfectly right this time. I got it right. You got it right. Well done, bro.